Hello Internet, Ed from Iridium Solutions, also the Iridium Group on Instagram and YouTube. Today we're going to have a little chat about something else that's in our course workbook for Control Massive Bleeding. That's our Civilian Trauma Emergency Casualty Care course that we put on up here in Canada. We're based in Prince George, British Columbia. We have in-person training classes, but if you would like us to come to you, well, you can go ahead and send an email to info@iridiumsolutions.ca. If you've got you and 7 of your friends or more, we'll be happy to come anywhere in Canada and get you trained up. I want to have a little talk about tourniquet removal. This can be a bit of a sticky subject in some circles because there's people who say, hey, you know what, once a tourniquet's in place, leave it in place. It's not safe to take off. And I get that. From a standpoint of, if I want to teach you only one thing, and I want to minimize confusion, just teach you one way to do it so that you'll always do it that way and it has really good success rate, then once a tourniquet's on, not only can it not come off, but you're not allowed to take your own tourniquet off, which means you need to get someone else to, so you don't get the muscle memory to know how to take it off. Okay. The current TCCC and TPCC guidelines say that tourniquets can be taken off under certain conditions. Okay? Our course, because we are a Committee on Tactical Emergency Casualty Care recognized, we're a recognized educational partner, we teach to the guidelines. We're one of the only CTECC educational partners in this part of the world, in this part of Canada anyways, teaching to civilians. And so that means you're getting the most sort of current training and information from our classes. So let's talk about why and when you can remove a tourniquet. And we're going to go to the book because I want to read the words out of the book, which gives you hearing it through the video and seeing me read it. And then when you come to class, you get to read it yourself, and then you also get to see me in person reading it. It gives you 3 vectors to get the information in your head, which is going to dramatically increase your sort of long-term retention of information. All right, so go into the book. Tourniquet removal. If the tourniquet is in place over 6 hours, leave it in place. The damage is done. We're going to start there. Hey, if it's been 6 hours, tourniquet removal is not an option. The tourniquet will be removed to the hospital, and the casualty will need to be monitored for reperfusion injury. Okay, so just know that if it's been on for more than 6 hours, it may be safe to take it off, it may not. You probably don't have all the training tools and equipment that you need on site to effectively manage that. And so what you're going to do is you're going to leave it on. Can you remove a tourniquet? Yes, provided the casualty is not in shock. The wound can be closely monitored for resumption of bleeding. The tourniquet is not in place due to an amputation, and the tourniquet has been applied for less than 6 hours. If those are all true, you can take that tourniquet off. Why are you going to take that tourniquet off? Well, you know what? Maybe don't take it all the way off. But if, say, you controlled the bleeding 3 hours ago, you're waiting until tomorrow for your medevac to come because it's a rotary wing aircraft, it's a helicopter, and you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's a blizzard and you have to wait for the weather to clear. And you know it's going to be tomorrow. And so after you controlled the bleeding, you deployed the rest of your kit, you used your acrylic gauze, you packed the wound, you used pressure dressing, and you wrapped the wound, and it effectively clotted and the bleeding stopped. And you looked at it and said, hey, I don't want to leave this thing on for 19 hours until the helo can get out here tomorrow. So I'm going to do what's called a tourniquet conversion. We're going to see if we can, and we're going to control this wound in another manner. And if it's successful, we can take the tourniquet off. And by take it off, I mean undo the windlass and loosen the tourniquet so it's no longer a venous constricting band. I don't want it to be constricting the blood flow on the outside of the limb, and I don't want it to be constricting the arterial blood flow at the inside of the limb. But I will leave it in place in case bleeding resumes 9 hours from now, because it's already there, right? So that would be the why you would do a tourniquet conversion. and a tourniquet removal, which, as I just explained, isn't actually taking the tourniquet off. That's one example. It should be noted that you're not to loosen and then retighten tourniquets. Okay, if it needs to be on, leave it on. There was, at one point, there were some people who believed that you could reset the 2-hour tourniquet clock by just relaxing the tourniquet, bleeding out some more blood, and then going ahead and tightening that back up. This is in complete defiance to our main stated goal of keeping as much blood in the casualty's body as possible, and it's no longer taught. It's not a real thing. So you can't loosen it so that it feels better for the casualty for a little bit and then retighten it. Don't be doing that. If you can't take it off, you have to have met all these conditions. If you loosen it and the bleeding resumes, tighten it back up and leave it alone. That was your one shot. You don't get to repeat the exercise. Copy? All right. If it's been less than 2 hours and the tactical situation now allows reassessment, loosen the tourniquet but leave it on the limb so that you can reapply and tighten it if the wound resumes bleeding. Just what we talked about. Okay? You found some other way to dress the wound. You think it's good. You don't want to leave a tourniquet on that limb for an extended period of time. Go ahead and loosen it. Loosen the strap so that it's on there but not compressed down at all, but it's in place if you need it. Okay, so there you go. You can remove a tourniquet under, provided the following conditions, and that's one useful piece of knowledge. Now, for civilians up in Canada here, that might be a realistic thing that you might encounter, especially if you've got your trauma pack out in the woods, doing recreational or working out in remote areas. We have a lot of remote wilderness out here, right? So remember that you can do that. That is a tool in your toolbox. If you're in a urban setting, it's almost never going to be an issue. A higher level of care, even on the worst of days, will be there within a couple of hours. So that's really not going to be an issue. Thanks for coming along. Get training. Our course, what this course workbook is out of, is Control Massive Bleeding, Introduction to Civilian Trauma Emergency Casualty Care. That's taught in Prince George, BC, by me, and I am happy to come to you if you get enough people together. If you and 7 or more of your friends would like me to come to your location in Canada, you go ahead and send an email to info@iridiumsolutions.ca, and I'll come to you. My goal with all this is not to get these kits in the hands of as many people as possible. It's to get the knowledge, the training in the hands of as many people as possible. In your group, your family unit, your mutual assistance group, however you're dealing with that thing, your family, your extended family. I believe that a core facet of emergency preparedness is that you learn the things you need to learn to a competency level where you can perform them and teach the basics to everybody else in your group. Right? I'd love for everybody in your group to come and get this training, but if only half of you did, will you become the instructors for the other half of your group? In fact, frankly, if you come and take this course, you become the medical instructor for everyone in your family. That's how that works. It's the same thing with taking firearms courses. You all of a sudden become the firearms instructor for everybody you know who knows less than you. And so it is worth your time, effort, energy, and money to go to a course that's going to teach you how to teach and leave you with material afterwards. You get to take this home, and you get to take this home as a training kit that you can use to teach, and in an emergency situation you can use, so that you will be able to take that knowledge and multiply it. Okay, we want to make this a force multiplier for good. That's what we're about here. So come to class, come check us out. You can go on iridiumsolutions.ca, type in the search bar, Control Massive Bleeding, and that's our course. That's our course for civilians that's open to the public. Thanks for paying attention to these. Really appreciate you listening to some snowbird up in Northern Canada. If you found this of value, go ahead and share it with a friend. If you find no value in this and you believe There's no time you can ever take off a tourniquet, and Ed is completely wrong, doesn't know what he's talking about. Share this with 10 friends. Just pump it up, put it in your groups, show everyone that you know how wrong this Canuck is. That really helps with the algorithm, so I appreciate that. If you have some comments, questions, or concerns about anything that you're seeing on these, man, there's comments below the videos on the Instagram and the YouTube. You can send me a direct message. I just gave you my email address. Reach out. I'm happy to help. I'm here to help. Okay? So remember to stay outside. Well, get outside. Stay safe and be ready to respond. Okay? In real terms, when an emergency happens right where you're at, in the critical time, no one's coming. It's up to you. Okay? In your scenario,